of his entire career, squashed by a single stupid story in Rolling Stone. That's how easily it happens.
Now, was the story stupid? I mean, did it have any basis in fact?
An editor at Rolling Stone told me that there were factual errors in it and there's something weird about it. But yes, people did die. Because yes, people die from using drugs occasionally. To deny that would be to lie. But that doesn't mean that they don't have therapeutic activity, and it doesn't mean that they should be illegal.
One of the ones that disturbs me the most is fentanyl. Fentanyl, just, I don't even understand why anybody would want to make that. It seems to me that we have plenty of opiates as it is. Why make one that's 1,000 times stronger than heroin?
Yeah. I've known 4 fentanyl chemists, including the one that introduced fentanyl to the United States initially. He died recently.
Did he die from it?
No. Died of old age.
It's killed so many people.
Yeah.
Tom Petty, David Bowie. Was Bowie one? I'm not sure. Prince.
Yeah.
I mean, there's quite a few great people that we've lost to this stuff.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but again, fentanyl is not the problem. The problem is
people taking it.
The problem is people taking it, and the problem is lack of access to safer opioids and lack of education surrounding fentanyl, because it doesn't even really have desirable properties. You know, one thing that people always talk about the potency of fentanyl, but one thing that they don't often talk about is the duration. It's a very, very short duration opioid, which necessitates compulsive, constant redosing. If you're addicted to fentanyl, unless you're doing a transdermal patch or something like that, you typically can't make it through a single night without having to redose because the duration is so short. That's why it's always done in these prolonged release formulations, like a lollipop that you suck or a patch. But anyway, it's not a drug that's well suited to street use. The therapeutic index is too narrow. Its duration is too short. It has a medical purpose that it works very well for. It shouldn't be used as a heroin replacement, but the economic reality is that you have to make heroin from opium. Opium has to come from a place where poppies are grown. That's a whole process, whereas fentanyl can be made by one guy somewhere, and the profit margin on the fentanyl is so much greater that there's an enormous economic incentive. And the first chemist, this guy that was sort of a friend of mine that died to do it, considered it a good thing to do. That's the complexity that you have to recognize. It's so easy to say that all these people are so bad, but often you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. His idea was that one of the major burdens of being addicted to heroin is that you can't afford it. It's really expensive. So by substituting this relatively inexpensive material, the price of heroin would go down. This financial burden associated with opioid addiction would be reduced. It would actually improve the quality of life of the users. And it could even be a more pure, potentially safer material if you look at certain literature. Of course, that's not what happened. And many people died, and he went to prison as a result of it.
Did he really?
Yes.
Why did he go to prison for it?
Because people died, and it was traced back to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he wasn't doing this in any sanctioned...
No, he was a clandestine chemist. His name was George Marquardt. Weird guy.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen until it happens. Of course, the legendary story that heroin was introduced by Bayer as a non-addictive alternative to morphine. They probably did think that was the case at the beginning, but history has shown that that is not the case. That's one of the problems with introducing any drug to a large population. You simply don't know. It's also one of the things that I find most interesting and perhaps a silver lining in this whole synthetic cannabinoid narrative that's been playing out over the last decade is you could say, oh, it's terrible, people should just smoke cannabis. But we're learning so much about what cannabinoid receptor agonists can do that we would have never learned if it weren't for the widespread use of synthetic cannabinoids. I mean, just for instance, that it is possible for high-potency cannabinoid receptor agonists to kill you. That's a big one. We didn't know that until recently, that they can be addictive.